Welcome to the Echo Tips Podcast.
Kawabunga!
Here's a sneak peek into what we're going to cover in this week's episode of the Echo Tips Podcast.
Hi. I'm thrilled you asked. The new me is a better listener and easier to talk to and available anywhere, including the Alexa app and most browsers. I'll also be able to get much more done for you. To experience it for yourself, just say, "Notify me when Alexa Plus is available."
Well, hello, and welcome to the Echo Tips Podcast. It's good to have you returning listeners and you new listeners as well. I'm your host, David Ward, and it's good to have you all with us this week. It's an exciting week of activity with the Amazon event having just taken place recently here on the 26th on this past here Wednesday. And so it was kind of a difficult show for me to follow along with since I didn't have a live stream. I had to follow along with some others on a live blog, but boy, oh boy, was there a lot of information. And even subsequently afterwards, after I started to dig into the documentation. So we learned some really neat kind of things, some surprising things about pricing being, in some respects, shocking and yet not for good and bad reasons. Ironically, it's kind of both ways depending on which way you want to look at it. What the feature set is, which is much more expansive than I think I would have ever thought it would have been. And furthermore, some interesting restrictions at the moment as this slowly rolls out. And are those permanent restrictions? Well, at first I thought so. And even said so on another podcast. You might have heard me on the Double Tap show on AMI Network with Stephen Scott and Sean Priest. But after looking and digging more and more deeply into the documentation, I don't know if those restrictions are as hard as you might think they are. And I think we might see these features on devices that we originally may have thought they would not come to. So that's a little coy, but I'm going to reveal all here eventually. And there's so much to dig into this. There's no way we can cram this all into one podcast, but I'm going to try and give you guys a high level at what happened on this past Wednesday, the 26th, and what we learned and what is coming to our A-ladies as far as AI-infused goodness. And like I said, it was a lot of stuff. So, for our new listeners, though, I'd first like to welcome you to the show. Like I said before, my name is David Ward. I'm the host of the Echo Tips Podcast, now in its 7th season. We're a weekly show somewhere between 15 to 25 minutes long, and we discuss everything related to your Amazon Echoes. And we talk about home automation, applications for children, parents, caregivers, seniors, all sorts of scenarios, business environments, and the like. And I don't think hardly any demographic is not going to be affected by the AI goodness that is coming to our A-ladies. And so this is really, really exciting, and I think you're going to enjoy this show. But before we delve into that in any sort of depth, we're going to go to a brief message about our show, and then we will be, as always, right back. Well, this is a little interlude, and it is my voice yet again. We often have somebody else read out these little sponsorship reads, and over the years, we're very grateful for the nonprofits and other organizations that have supported the Echo Tips podcast to bring it all the way now into its 7th season. At present, we don't currently have any really sponsorships, but we may be reaching out or interested in hearing if you'd like to support the show in some way, and we may even set up a tip jar or who knows what else here in the future. But nonetheless, I still wanted to have some sort of call to action here that I would wedge in, and that is continuing to support your local nonprofits. Maybe there's a nonprofit in your community doing good work. Maybe you can give them a little bit of elbow grease, ask them if they could use a volunteer by giving them a call. Maybe send them a few dollars their way. And if you don't have one in mind, here's one that I love and use pretty regularly, almost every week. And that is Wikipedia, wikipedia.org, which is owned and run by the Wikimedia Foundation. And as you might know, it's an online encyclopedia that has a wealth of knowledge and volunteers that contribute to it, and it's kind of become this amazing resource that we many of us use every day, or we use it at least whenever there's that question about timing or books or when this happened or what processors in that computer. It's just a treasure trove of information. And if you'd like to donate to them, you can go to donate.wikimedia.org. And so that's a super simple way that you can support what they do. All right. But now let's return to the show. Well, hello, and welcome back. As I mentioned, we're going to be talking about that really amazing event. It happened here this past Wednesday, the 26th of February at 10 a.m. New York time. And unfortunately, they didn't have a live video link or anything like that. What's going on, Amazon? Come on. You know, like there are kids in their basements playing video games. I can watch their stream. Come on. Anyway, but thank goodness for certain outlets that were invited to the presentation, such as Engadget. Thank you to the guys and gals over at Engadget who did a live blog, and I was able to follow along with that. Now, you may have heard some of my commentary recently on the Double Tap Show, an AMI network show with Stephen Scott and Sean Priest, and I have additional details to kind of bring to the fore now that I've delved deeper into the documentation. Some things that originally seemed to be hard, fast rules, but maybe aren't really the restrictions we maybe thought they were. Now, let's start off with the simple nomenclature. What is this new by the way, I'm about to say the name, Alexa. If you have an echo and hearing distance of my voice, please, by all means, shut its ears off, because otherwise it's going to get tripped quite a few times. I usually don't use the name, but it's part of the branding here, so I think it's kind of important that I say exactly what it is. And we are also going to be doing a demo here in just a second. So if you'd shut your ears off in your echo. Okay. So Reuters and I think other outlets had suggested that the naming was going to be, based on their secret sources, was going to be Alexa, or the Remarkable Alexa. Let me get that right. The Remarkable Alexa. And the old Alexa was going to be Alexa Classic. I don't know if we actually have ever seen that phrase yet, Alexa Classic. I haven't seen it in any of the documentation that I've been looking at post-event. So that may be just an in-house name, or maybe a name I just haven't seen surface yet. But Remarkable Alexa is not the branding they used for this new AI-infused Alexa. Instead, what they decided to do is stick a plus on the end. That's right, a plus sign. So it is Alexa Plus. Alexa Plus. So God help you if you ever have to Google that. You probably need to stick that in quotations. Alexa, then a plus sign, then quotations. At least that's what I found myself doing later in the morning. Okay, so that is the branding, Alexa Plus. Now, I am going to jump right to some of the big stuff that you guys are probably wanting to know. What is the pricing going? And there's a lot going on. I want to highlight that too. So what is it going to cost us? Well, at present, the estimated the price they've given us is going to be $19.99 a month, United States. So roughly $20, $19.99 a month. Now, as brought out by, I believe, Sean Priest on the show and Stephen Scott, that's actually, and I didn't think about this till it was mentioned, is very kind of interestingly competitive. Now, it's competitive in the sense that it's in the same price bracket as many competing large language model ChatGPT from OpenAI and Gemini and other Copilot. A lot of those services, if you sign up for like the Pro package, the paid package, it's going to be roughly around $20 a month. But here's where I think it's an interesting bargain here potentially is, and there's going to be something even bigger here in a second, guys. Hang on. It's going to be really surprising. But the other component is if you factor in Prime usually costs $15.99 here, $14.99 a month here in the United States. So really, it's only a $5 difference from Prime, okay? Now, here's the other upsell, and this is surprising. We weren't expecting this, but it did happen, and Sean was right. Sean Priest from the Double Tap Show. And that is you are going to get it for free if you are a Prime member. So it's just going to be a thing that you're offered if you're a Prime member. So Prime membership, you might recall, includes certain packaging that can be shipped 2-day air or next day air, no cost. If you just order a handful of items every month, that probably adds up to $20 or $15 easily. You get music here in the United States. You get access to their entire, I'm pretty positive it's their entire music catalog to listen. Now, it plays in a random kind of jostle kind of thing. It's not like you can listen to the album from beginning to end. And you don't get the super, super high fidelity ones that are like above CD quality or whatever. But nonetheless, you can listen to all that music, and you got to factor in TV shows and stuff too. Now, they do wedge some commercials into those TV shows, and they may wedge in some commercials into the Prime Music, although I'm struggling to remember hearing a commercial recently. I get it on Spotify because I have it for free, but I don't know if I remember. But anyway, you get all of that with Prime, a few other things. But now you're going to be able to get Alexa Plus with your Prime membership. Now, remember, the Prime membership is $14.99 a month. And the just buying straight up Alexa Plus, if you had no Prime, no any other third-party services with Amazon, is a straight $19.99. So by all means, just go with the Prime membership. You save yourself $5 and you get all the other benefits of Prime. So I think that's a huge kind of mental ninja karate move there. That's really a kind of a financial teaser because it sets that artificial high, but really, if you just get Prime, it's going to be cheaper and it's free and it's just included in that package. So I think that's surprising. And this was kind of counterintuitive to what a lot of us thought, which is we were all expecting, I think me and Steven thought it'd be more $5 or $6 a month, maybe as much as $10 a month. Sean all this time was yelling, no, it's not going to be that much. It's going to be cheaper. It's going to be free. And guess what? With Prime membership, it is free. Okay, so let's delve right into what you get. Or I'll tell you what, we might even just tell you how to sign up for it first. Now that you know you're going to get it for free if you're a Prime member, or if at least you want to get notified when it's available to you. So you can go to Amazon.com/new Alexa. That's all lowercase, all wedged together. So that's Amazon.com/new Alexa. If you go to that website, under the top big heading, there'll be a little sentence that talks about granted early like beta access. And then immediately below that's a button where you can request to be put onto that list. And if you're already logged into your Amazon account, all you have to do is hit enter on that button and it will transform to saying something like, we'll notify you in the future. Okay, so that's one way. The other way is you can actually ask your Echo device, which I have my Amazon Echo Show 8 hooked up right now. I'll tell you why I have that hooked up here in just a second, and not the usual Echo that I have. Okay? And you can give it a voice command. So let's do that now. Okay, now that I got her ears on, Alexa, tell me about Alexa Plus.
Hi. I'm thrilled you asked. The new me is a better listener and easier to talk to and available anywhere, including the Alexa app and most browsers. I'll also be able to get much more done for you. To experience it for yourself, just say, notify me when Alexa Plus is available.
Okay, there you go. So it's that simple. And so I guess we could give that a try, although I've already clicked the button. I hope I'm not double dipping here. I'll get double the Alexa Plus. Alexa, notify me when Alexa Plus is available.
You're already in the Alexa Plus early access list.
What do you know?
I'll let you know when it's available for you.
Okay, well, there you go. It already knew. All right, so it's that simple. All right, let's get into the nitty-gritty then of what is available feature-wise. And like I said, there's going to be a lot going on here, and there were a lot of little supplemental, I think, videos on the website as well, and we'll probably see hopefully a full video come out from the actual event that day, this past Wednesday. Okay, so let's talk about just a few things. Well, at a high level, I'll go at the high level later. I'll do that after we talk about the features. Okay, so First off, this was something I hadn't heard originally during the event. It can monitor your Ring. Well, they did mention this. You can monitor your Ring video doorbells and say, did I get a package delivered today? And it has the ability to go and check your cameras. I don't know if it does it in real time there or if it's mostly looking at the event log when it saw motion earlier in the day and then actually chewing through that video footage and seeing a package or a cardboard box set down. There's similar other things you can do through with the video camera. Did the dog go out? Did we take the trash out? What is there anything unusual happening on the cameras right now? I don't know if that's a phrase, but you get the idea. You can triage events that your Ring video doorbell has seen throughout the day. Another neat thing, and this I don't think I heard during the event, but was mentioned in the documentation online, is videos. So you could say, hey, one of my favorite scenes is in this Star Trek movie where Spock does this, and then boom, it can just jump to that scene in a movie. That's kind of cool. I'm wondering really what's going on there. Are they data mining all their videos to with certain events and sequences in the movie? Is that connected with Amazon X-Ray? Exactly what's happening there. It's really kind of a neat concept there. Here's one that we've all been expecting for a while, and that is the ability to verbally with Alexa Plus. I said her name and I got the other Alexa still listening. Let me shut her ears off. Okay, so the thing that we were expecting hopefully was that routine creation with simple verbal commands. So, you could create a routine by saying something like, hey, lady, every night at 9 p.m., shut off my porch light or something like that, or whatever the routine is you want to kind of craft. I don't think I've seen many demos about how that might work. So I think that one might be still kind of out there a little bit about what we can expect. Now, this one I was surprised about because email used to exist on the A-Lady devices, but then was, you might recall, removed where you could read your emails and I think even send or respond to emails. Well, it looks like some sort of level of email integration is coming back to this A-Lady Plus. And that in particular means that she can data mine your emails for different things. Now, originally I was thinking she's going to actually read your emails again and process it. And I have seen that, as you guys might have recalled me demoing in a recent podcast with Gemini, which could look at my Gmail and actually do that. But I'm not too sure that's what this A-Lady Plus is going to do because some of the reference material in the documentation said something like you would forward an email. Let's say you were a parent and your kids went to school and they send you out calendars about vacation days and days the kids are going to be off of school or getting out early. And you could set up your email to automatically forward that to the A-Lady Plus. And then she can data mine that later. And you could say, add to my calendar all the days the kids get off of school or get out early. And A-Lady could do that triage for you. So I don't know. I think we're going to have to wait and see on that one too. But there's definitely going to be some sort of email integration. I'm kind of leaning towards it's going to be a forwarding model where you're going to either have to forward email over there, very much like the Kindle, I think, where you could take certain books or materials that you had elsewhere, you could email them to your Kindle, and then they pop up on your Kindle, and you can, read them. Maybe longer format materials and things like that. Okay, now here's some interesting other things with A-Lady Plus is this ability for her to remember certain things about you, just not contextually, but it looks like to help personalize her for you. I'm thinking this is a little more like Notes on steroids. So for those of you who don't recall, Notes on your current A-Lady devices is where you can say, hey, A-Lady, create a note. Peggy Sue is going to China in August of 2025. And then at any future date, you can say, hey, A-Lady, search my notes for Peggy Sue, and it'll come back and triage all the different pieces of information you said about Peggy Sue. Or you can say, who's going to China in 2025? And she'll come back and say, oh, it was Peggy Sue. So this is a similar concept, but much like other AIs, you're kind of training it to more about yourself and maybe how to interact with you. So some of the examples I mentioned is maybe remember that your wife is gluten-free and you have an allergy to dairy. And going forward, whenever maybe she gives you recipes about what to cook for dinner tonight, she'll factor that in. So that could be really kind of cool going forward. Okay, this is another interesting fact. It mentioned something about agentic capabilities, and agentic is the ability to take an action on our behalf. So earlier we talked about home automation. That's a simple agentic concept, but more complex agentic concepts may include navigating the web. That's actually mentioned in some of the documentation about how you could ask the A-Lady to go find a repairman for your oven, your cooking oven, and they could go find it and log in and do this and book it and all of that. So I'm not really too sure what the implications of that is. It sounds like possibly that may be why the Echo Shows, which have built-in browsers, could be useful to utilize that feature, but I'm not really positive yet. It could also have something to do with the fact that this new A-Lady Plus is going to have a web portal. So in other words, you can go to a specific website for your A-Lady or go to the app, a new revised app that's going to be on your phone. These are two other new things. And you could go on there and ask it a question related to websites or searching or maybe current information. Or in particular, I guess I might as well jump ahead here, with that same portal, you can upload documents. So that may be PDFs. They were specifically mentioned during the presentation and in the follow-up documentation. Images, maybe handwritten notes or something. And there's a multimodal component of some of these AI engines or these different expert engines that it's going to draw on. And some of those can process images. Some of those could process PDFs. Some of those could process handwriting. And so it can suck all that information out. Now, you may think one of the examples used during the presentation was a homeowners association document, like the rules governing your community. And, can I or can I not replace my mailbox without approval from the homeowners association? Can I or can I not repaint my house without approval from the homeowners association? And you could walk over to your A-Lady and say, hey, I have a question about the homeowners association. Can I repaint my house or do I have to get approval first? That kind of stuff. I was thinking of menus and things like that would be really, really kind of cool. Okay, looking down through our list again, I mentioned the A-Lady app or Alexa app is going to be a new revised app where you can interact with this, for all intents and purposes, chatbot, Alexa chatbot. I mentioned the website is going to be available. Now, this is interesting. This did not come out when I was on the show with Sean and Stephen Scott on the Double Tap show. Digging into the documentation, it does specifically mention that this new A-Lady Plus is going to be coming to cars, and so that would, I would assume, mean A-Lady Automotive or different cars that have natively that built in, and maybe not the separate third-party device. I think you can still buy that from Amazon. And also to their Fire TVs and tablets. So I don't know if there's going to be certain restrictions on that, but it looks like it's going to be coming to those as well. Okay, so at its core, I think those are the main things. Apart from that, I think a lot of the run-of-the-mill stuff we would expect, as I mentioned earlier in our primer, that conversational nature is going to be there. It's going to have a follow-up mode that continues to listen afterwards to kind of facilitate conversations, whether you can kind of curate that or change that or shut that off. I'm not entirely sure yet. They did mention some of the bloggers that were at the event said that she was continuing to listen and it was kind of getting stumbled a little bit when they were doing the live presentations on stage. So I don't know. I'd kind of like to turn that mode off and it not be incumbent upon me to have that mode on. But that is obviously going to be there. The ability to craft stories and narratives, like they said, make stories up for kids that are going to go to bed. On the documentation, there's various different features for parents and children. It's going to be connected with this as well. There's information about privacy and how this information is going to be used. I'll probably cover that in a future episode, but by all accounts, Amazon's documentation at present reveals that pretty much all the same privacy controls are going to be present inside the app, where you can purge stuff. You can say it's automatically wiped after a certain day. You can say, I don't want other people to be able to review this. And I would imagine this stuff is not going to backfeed into the overall AI. I would think that would be a bad way to poison the AI. So I would not think that's going to happen. But like I said, we'll cover probably the privacy aspect in a future episode, especially since it's a paid-for service. I don't think that'll happen. Let's see. Anything else that I thought of? Well, I think we covered all the major things, the conversational nature. We didn't hear anything about the voice quality improving, but it's just going to be, I mean, they pretty much had that worked up, I think, 2 years ago. So I think that's probably just a given. I hope we get some additional voices. That would be nice. Or we see a push forward for more personality-based voices. Oh, there was something interesting. It did say that she can recognize your tone when you're talking. Like if I'm angry or whatever, right? Or I'm happy. Like she can recognize a tone potentially. So that could be interesting, playing into the way these AI bots interact with us, and maybe make them just more effective because they're not tone deaf, if you will, to what we're trying to say. Like, stop saying that, or that's not what I asked. That's kind of very interesting as well. And what was the final component of the three-wheel tricycle? I said conversation, the primer that I gave earlier last week, the voice quality, and the agentic property, which we've talked a lot about that with the home automation, the data mining, the emails and PDFs. Didn't see anything about data mining Kindle resources, but I can only imagine that's going to come. Although I could see how that could be a sticky kind of point if there's authors out there that are somehow freaked out that Amazon would data mine their books and stuff. But maybe there's a way they could do it that it doesn't feed back into the model. It just reads through the model. Or, I mean, if you tell the authors the guy's already bought your book, he just wants to be able to, easily ask, what are the 3 steps before I replace a light switch or whatever it is, maybe a DIY material or something. That could be useful. I mean, you're already a paying customer at that point. You've bought the book. So I don't know. If anybody could pull it off, I think Amazon could. Okay. So let's move on to the nitty-gritty, the hard, difficult point. Now, originally, when I was on the Double Tap show, I kind of had one impression because of what a blog post on Amazon, it's about Amazon.com, which is kind of one of their corporate blogs that documents this, and Panos Panay, and I believe some other source material cited that this new A-Lady Plus would be restricted to. So this would be restricted to the 21, the 15, the 10, and the 8. So those are all different models of varying screen sizes, the 21-inch model, the 15-inch, 10-inch, and 8-inch. Of course, the 21 and the 15 are really designed to be more wall-mounted orientation generally, although you can buy, or they might come with a pedestal to put it on. I can't quite remember. So let's talk about these requirements. So when I originally talked to Sean and Steven, and we had read documentation on aboutamazon.com, which is the corporate blog for Amazon, I believe Panos Panay and some of the source material pretty much suggested that this would be restricted or available only. It's all about phrasing, isn't it? To the Echo Show 21, 15, 10, and 8. Not the 5. It just says the 21, the 15, the 10, and the 8. Now, you may recall that the 21 and the 15 are designed to be more wall-mounted, although you can get pedestals for them if they don't come with them automatically. I don't think they do. And then while the 10 and the 8 are more traditional Echo Shows that are designed to sit on a desk. They have their own little built-in kind of base. And the 10 even has a motion thing that spins it and things like that. So when we originally heard that, that kind of felt like a firm, nothing older than that. And it also seemed to give the impression that all of those, because there's been the current 8 is in third iteration, so there's at least 2 previous 8s, the first and second generation, and the 10 is got at least a previous edition, maybe 2 previous editions, I can't quite remember. So the 15 definitely has a previous version. The 21 is the first model of its type and size. So that was kind of the impression that we got. But after digging into the information, digging into the information, it actually seems that we have some hope. Because I know a lot of my students, especially in the blindness community and others, use ones without screens, kind of prefer the ones without screens. But it looks like there is some hope. So digging further into the information, I did find this specific phrasing. these devices will not get Alexa Plus support. And the Echo Dot first generation, the Echo, just the traditional Echo first generation, so that was the Pringle can, and the Echo Plus first generation, those will not, nor shall ever, receive Alexa Plus. And to be fair, the Echo first generation Pringle can is coming up on, I think it's like 11 years. It was like released to a private group of people, I think in November of 2014. So that is an old device, and I am completely fine with that. Even though it's a legacy device, and I kind of love it, it will not. Now, it means it'll continue to work as far as I can tell with the regular Alexa, aka classic Alexa, but that will never get Alexa Plus support. The other device that will not get, or cannot, or will not get Alexa Plus support is the Echo Show first generation, second generation. So if it's a first or second generation, I'm assuming it doesn't mention sizes here. It means any of those, 8 or 10 inch, Echo Show first or second generation, it ain't going to work with Alexa Plus. They have no anticipation of that working with Alexa Plus. And so it was pretty verbatim in the documentation. That will not. Now, for example, the Echo Show 8 that I have here is the third generation, but it's the most newest and was just released in 2023, November, something like that. So that pretty much forces you to have one of the newest models, either the 8, the 10, the 15, I guess, has had 2 editions. But would they consider that a show? I guess they would, right? So I guess it would have to be the newer one or the 21. That means you're pretty much restricted to Echo Shows that are been made in the last 2 years, I'd say, year and a half. So the first and second generation shows will not get Alexa Plus. At least that's currently the way Amazon's documentation reads. And then lastly, what's the other thing? The Echo Spot. Echo Spot first generation will not get Alexa Plus support. Okay, so why did I mention that? I mentioned that because the Echo Dot first generation is very, very old, but there's been 4 generations after that. The current one I have sitting on my desk here is 5th generation, and it's still pretty old. It hasn't been revised in 2 years. But the 5th generation, and that's the snow globe design, and the immediate predecessor to that was the Echo 4th generation, also the same snow globe design. The only physical difference, I believe, with the unit on the exterior was that it had a headphone jack. They took that out with the 5th generation. But they did add some new sensors. They have a temperature sensor, and they have a motion accelerometer feature in there, so you can kind of thump the cloth fabric on top to stop or start music or hang up a phone call or whatever. Now, so what this implies to me is the rollout of this for the 21, the 15, and the 10 and the 8, basically the newest Echo Shows, is where they're starting with. Probably because of some of these image and camera features, which I mentioned earlier, the ability to process images, maybe also the web browser functionality if there's some sort of agentic capability for you to verbally command it to interact with a web page. I couldn't quite figure out how that all played in, but those are the ones we're going to see this as a slow rollout. Now, the rollout is supposed to happen, they announced at the event, basically starting the 1st of this coming month. But as I earlier said, you need to go sign up to get on the list. It looks like they're going to do kind of a staggered beta thingy for a little while and before it comes out to everybody free, willy-nilly. But some of this language in here, like the Echo Spot first gen, there is an Echo Spot second gen. And the latest Echo Spot, which I'm thinking is the second gen, is the one they took the camera out of. So it says it will not support the first, but it doesn't say it won't support the second. And consequently, here it also doesn't say the Echo Dot. It says it's not going to support the Echo Dot first generation, but that doesn't mean it won't support the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. So I'm under the impression, based on what I'm reading here, that we'll see the rollout on the higher-end hardware with some of the cameras and functionality that may help it be a better process or really wow people. But as things move along, I think this means that they are willing to back support this back to users who are using older dots and maybe traditional echoes. So I'd be surprised if the 5th generation and 4th generation Echo Dots don't get support at some point here. Well, anyway, that will wrap things up for me. And like I said, there's a lot more to cover in this material. I am enrolled, and so hopefully I'll get notified here in the next week or so that I can get into the beta. I sincerely hope so. But we do, as always, thank you for listening.